Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first Sunday of December. Welcome to Unity of Music City. On behalf of Reverend Deb Moore, I'm Ryan Gill. That's Jackson. That's Candy. That's Mary Grace. We're going to start off the day by singing, but first I want you to let me hear you say this. All is well and unfolding as it should.
All is well and unfolding as it should.
All right, let's stand up and sing it, everybody. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today I declare freedom from yesterday's mistakes of the past. Today all things are made brand new. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should? I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace, joy, and happiness is yours and it's mine. I am loved and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should? Let me hear you say all is well. All is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. I am cloaked in the Spirit. I am fed by the divine. I am one with all that is. My soul is free from time. I am blessed, and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should? Let me hear you say all is well. All is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. One more time. All is well. All is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. All is well and unfolding as it should. All is well. All right, now it's time for some Christmas. Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the love. welcome to Christmas. Please be seated. All right, and if there are any kids that want to go to the youth department, head on out.
Good morning, Unity of Music City.
Good morning.
Let us begin this portion of our service by taking a deep, centering breath. Today's centering statement is, love, joy, and peace are my highest spiritual principles. When we experience love, peace, and joy within the human experience, love can be warm and fuzzy, peace can be calm and tranquil, and joy can be happiness on the overdrive. But when we experience these emotions through the divine presence that lives in us all, we can have a deeper, richer experience that can totally transform our lives. When we embody divine love for all of creation, we can feel the interconnectedness of all life. In divine love, we have a genuine desire to see the best in everything, and we are open to seeing everyone as who they are, a divine child of God. When we know in our soul that we are a child of the divine, we can experience joy like a little child. From this perspective, finding joy is easy because we know that the creator of the universe has it all under control, and joy is our divine birthright. Peace becomes more than just a fleeting feeling, because we know that in God, all is well, life is good, and we are truly blessed. The deeply rooted peace of God extends over all creation, and we appreciate every encounter as an aspect of the divine. And let's say these affirmations together. I see love in every person and every situation. I see love in every person and every situation. I experience true joy when I know that I am a divine child of God. I experience true joy when I know that I am a divine child of God. I begin each day in gratitude and end each day in peace. I begin each day in gratitude and end each day in peace. And so it is.
Well, we start the Christmas holiday with love, peace, and joy. I can't think of a better way to start Christmas than that. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Music City. Unity of Music City is an inclusive, affirming, interfaith spiritual community, and we are here to support you on your spiritual path. No judgment allowed. So welcome to the start of the Christmas holidays. We have so much in store for you over the next month, all the way through to New Year's, which we're all looking forward to, our New Year's Burning Bowl or whatever Reverend Deb's got planned for us for that day. I know it'll be special. And I do believe we've got some announcements. Are you going to do that? Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm not Julie. I don't know that I quite have the flash and sizzle that she does. But
where's your costume?
I know. This kind of is my costume. But we all know the holidays are right now, and there's always the little offbeat holidays. So how many of you knew that today is National Green Bean Casserole Day? No. Google it. It's on Google. Google says so, so it has to be true, right?
It should be the day after Thanksgiving, right?
One would think, but I guess we're cooking or kicking off the holiday food and all that stuff kind of really in full force now. So anyhow, all activity or meeting links and phone numbers can be found on the website, Weekly Happenings Google Calendar, or you can always email the church. Our Wednesday Spirituality in Recovery will resume after the holidays, so blessings for a safe and healthy season. Safe Paw. We are collecting non-perishable food items to support Safe Paw. Think of things that can be prepared together to create a meal, like pasta and sauce, or chili and a box of cornbread. You can bring these items at any time and place them on the marked shelves inside the small classroom. We appreciate your support and donations. If you have any questions, please see Sarah Esper back here in the back. The chili and soup potluck today here at Wren Road, following the service and before the Leadership Council meeting. Please join us in a communal celebration meal with chili and soup. Also know that the leadership meetings are open to everybody in the congregation. Leadership will be discussing business, but there is an open forum at the end of the meeting. So if anybody has any questions or any input that you would like to bring to leadership, please attend the meeting afterwards. And today is pretty important because we've got some elections happening. So if you're interested in any of these things, again, please stick around. Also, save the date for the Christmas brunch. Unity of Music City leadership looks forward to celebrating and appreciating our members, volunteers, and their families on Saturday, December the 9th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. RSVP to the church at unityofmusiccity@gmail.com by today, if possible, and indicate the number of people attending. There is a sign-up sheet out front in the lobby as well. This is a brunch in celebration of you. We ask for your presence only, nothing for you to bring. We look forward to serving you, our loved and appreciated members and volunteers. We couldn't do this without you guys. So we really, really want to give thanks and know that we are truly blessed for the souls that are in this room and online. And finally, Holiday Happy Class. It's a little pop-up class Steph is doing Thursday, December the 14th from 6:30 to 7:30. Join in the fun as we move and groove to a holiday hits playlist. Then relax with Reiki, aromatherapy, and peppermint hand treats. Sign-up sheet is on the bulletin board out front as well. I believe that's it. I'm going to turn this back over to Ryan.
See, I told you we were busy. I just want to know if anybody's bringing green bean casserole for today's potluck, right? I mean, green bean casserole soup. That does not sound good. All right, well, it's time to sing again. And today we start a new monthly mantra, and the monthly mantra is a song that we sing that really reinforces our principle statements that we have as a spiritual community. And today we're doing Go Light Your World, which is such an incredible song about unity. If you were here last week and heard Reverend Deb's message, this falls right in line with everything that she said. There's a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. There is a spirit who brings a fire, ignites a candle, and makes its home. And this is your spiritual home, so this is where your candle burns bright. So let's all stand, and if you don't know it, we'll learn it. If you know it, sing it. There is a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. There is a spirit who brings a fire, ignites a candle, and makes its home. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your frustrated brother. See how he's tried to light his own candle some other way. See now your sister, she's been robbed and lied to, still holds a candle without a flame. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see, and take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your world. We are a family whose hearts are blazing, so let's raise our candles and light up the sky, praying to the Spirit, spreading peace and kindness, makes us a beacon in darkest times. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see, and take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your world. You sound beautiful. Please be seated.
I promised that if Ryan and I ever actually got together and planned the music, we would mess it up.
It's Elton John and Bernie Taupin.
It's
all over,
perfect.
you know.
It's perfect. We can't be in the same room when this happens. The magic has to happen like telepathically. I think Amy has gone to help the kids, but someone remind me to tell her after the service that the Durkee fried onion people will have a check for her later. Commission check.
Oh, good.
For the green bean casserole. Yes, there you can tell her that, Candy. I invite you into the meditative portion of our service now to take just a moment to settle into the stillness. Let that breath out. Lower the shoulders. Relax the jaw. See if you can relax just 5% more. Every king was once a baby. The spiritual essence within us is our divine birthright, our inheritance. But we begin each day again with beginner's mind. The newborn baby queen. The newborn baby king. We hold that baby in our arms. we treat that newborn understanding of divine essence as a precious gift. A miracle made manifest. Always present, always being born anew in our spirit. We remember to go into the silence, because that is the cradle of our spirit. That is where our sacred presence is born anew each day. All we have to do is remember, nurture it, care for it, love it. I invite you now to take a moment to gently hold that newborn Christ child in the silence. In the silence. You are the beloved child of God, divine and holy, sacred and precious. You are loved to the fullest degree of love. You are the light of the world. You benefit from the light of the people around you, and you also remind them of their own light by shining yours. And in sacred community, we remember together on a regular basis that we are the sacred essence of God. The presence of the Creator is within us, living as us. The energy through which we live and move and have our being. We are so blessed. We are so grateful.
Long ago a child was born, a gift to all mankind, a gift that's with us still today. If we seek Him, peace we'll find. Let me see Him, let me be Him in all I do and say. Let me hold Him closer to me every time I pray. For I know this child is made of nothing but pure love. Let that love be born anew in me each day. As we celebrate with joy this child, this holy birth, let us see the difference we can make as a child of God on earth. Let me see Him, let me be Him in all I do and say. Let me hold Him closer to me every time I pray. For I know this child is made of nothing but pure love. Let that love be born anew in me each day. Let that love be born anew in me each day.
That's my favorite Judy Blackwelder song.
Amy said the same thing earlier.
I gotta tell you, that one's real though. That one really is my favorite for sure. Judy Blackwelder. Y'all remember Judy Blackwelder? I said that like she's still alive. She's in Savannah, Tennessee. She's living on the river. We miss her. Our finest gifts we bring is what we're going to be talking about today. This is the beginning of our 3-part series. And I noticed during one of the songs, see what Ryan does, I don't know if y'all know this or not, is he puts his little magic interfaith juju on top of the lyrics of songs sometimes and switches them up so that they're a little less fundamental, a little less whatever, right? And so I noticed that one of the changes that he had made did not make its way onto the screen, and so it said something about praying to the Spirit in the name of Jesus, right? Which is okay. It's Christmas time. We can talk about Jesus, right? For those of you, we're going to talk about Jesus just a little bit. For those of you who carry a little bit of spiritual baggage like I've had in my life, I spent several decades getting the yips every time I heard some of that fundamentalist language and having to reframe it in my head all the time. Let me just tell you right now, that is not his fault. He didn't do that, right? That is not his fault. It's what has been done in his name. And I think it's a beautiful reminder to be back at this time of year every year. And for us to be able, in our own spiritual journey that may take many different paths and be open to many different ideas, to go back and remember once again the beauty of Jesus, the preciousness of the life of Jesus. And especially, it is especially simple and easy to enter back into that with Jesus the baby, right? You remember that movie several years ago, what was it, something of Ricky Bobby? You remember that? Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Yeah, with Will Ferrell. Yeah, I'm praying to that little 6-pound, 13-ounce baby Jesus. right? I love that. Because it's like my favorite version of Jesus. I mean, all the versions of Jesus are great, but that 6-pound, 13-ounce baby Jesus, you got no qualms with that. There's absolutely no issues you can have with that little baby Jesus. So what we've decided to do, and what was going to happen over the next 3 weeks, is we're using the framework of the gifts of the Magi to talk about what we're doing this time of year, revisiting the Christ child, trying to rebirth the Christ within us. That's what unity historically has always talked about. I first heard that concept about 25 years ago when I first walked into a unity church, and they said, oh, it's Christmas time, we're going to birth the Christ within. And I was like, I don't know what the heck you people are smoking, but I'm game. I'm going to sit and listen for a while. And sure enough, it began to make sense, because birthing the Christ within is precisely what we do all the time. Recognizing our divine essence is birthing the Christ within. Sitting in notice of sacred presence within us is birthing the Christ within. It's what we do. It's our business. So let's start, before we get into the 3 wise men. I'm going to give you a little bit. It's going to feel like a history lesson a little bit for a while. Suffer through it, all right, because it gives me a little a nerd high here for just a moment. But let's start from the beginning. Here's the little baby Jesus there. I tried really hard to find a Mary and a baby Jesus that actually looked like Palestinians. Almost impossible to find. All you artists out there, there's an incredible market for you to start creating the artwork around a culturally appropriate Mary and Joseph and Jesus. But nonetheless, I kind of liked this one because it had a good picture of the baby's face. And there's nothing like a little baby, is there? I mean, when you get a whole little baby and you just want to squeeze its little cheeks and it's got that smell and oh my gosh, it does something like on a cellular level to you. And certainly one of the central stories of Christianity is the birth of Jesus. So let me give you a little background to this. The story of Jesus' birth is only found in 2 of the Gospels, Matthew and Luke, right? Now, as a refresher to you, the 4 Gospels that were canonized into the Scriptures were put there in the Scriptures were put there in this order: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But they weren't written in that order, right? They were written in the order of Mark, Luke, Matthew, John. And they were written, scholars believe, somewhere between 70 and 110 CE, right? What we used to call AD. I prefer to use the CE because AD means Anno Domini, which means year of our Lord. And that's not a very interfaith approach, is it, to say, well, this is the year of our Lord. So as an interfaith, and just as to be sensitive to other cultures, CE means the Christian era. That's it. It is the era of Christianity, right? BCE, before the Christian era, right? And so about 70 to 110 years after they started counting, which they didn't start counting then, that's a whole other sermon I'll get into later. They didn't even start the counting until several hundred years later. They went backwards and picked up. Anyway, so about 70 to 110 years, which means if Jesus was crucified somewhere around 30, right, 30 CE, then at least 40 to 60 or 70 years later was when the stories were actually written. And what happens to stories when they take a few decades to get written down? They change. They change a lot. They get added to. People add what they want to have. And one of the reasons why we know that that's the order, there's several reasons why scholars know that's the order, but every single one of those books, which were not written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, by the way, they were long gone. Just followers, just go, let's put it in his words. Let's attribute it to him. One of the reasons why we know the order is because every one of them starts back a little bit further. Mark starts with Jesus' ministry. So the writers of Luke said, well, we got to go back further. We'll start with his birth. We're going to beat them. We're going to one-up them. And then the writers of Matthew said, we're going to go all the way back through his ancestry. Right? Remember, Matthew starts with Adam begat Seth, and Seth begat whatever, and Jacob and Esau, and all the way down through all these different people. David, right? House of David, all the way to Jesus. And then John, he's like, where do I start? How do we go before creation? in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, right? And so each one of these goes back a little bit further, and they're added to as they see fit. And both Matthew and Luke, which talked about the birth of Jesus, were heavily influenced by the ancient prophets. Isaiah, the works in the Psalms and Proverbs where they talked about, they prophesied a Savior to come, a Messiah to come, that there would be a star and there would be, all these different things. So they wrote those elements in. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. I feel like I'm sitting here telling y'all that there is no Easter bunny. I don't even want to say Santa Claus because some of you might still believe. But here's the thing. It's culture. We do this with everything. Cultures create the story that resonates with who they are. And that doesn't diminish it or belittle it. This is the story. This is our myth. Myth just being an origin story, the story of our culture, right? And this was a central, important myth for Christianity. Jesus himself was not named Jesus. If you could have gone back in time, you got a time machine right now, you go back in time to like 25, the year 25. Jesus is working in his father's carpenter shop. He hasn't yet started preaching. If you walked in and you went, "Hey, Jesus," he would just keep sawing or hammering or whatever he's doing. He wouldn't even listen to you because that wasn't his name, right? His name was Yeshua. And that was actually shortened. Yehoshua was his name. And the most direct translation of that is Joshua. If we had really taken his name for what it was, he would be called Joshua in English today. But the Greek spelling was I-E-S-O-U-S, and then the Latins made it I-E-S-U-S, and then the I just got turned to a J, and the English made him Jesus, right? That's just the way it happened. And Christ, of course, wasn't his last name. We know that. It was Johnson. No, I'm sorry. I have uncovered a new text. Christ wasn't his last name. Christ, of course, means the anointed one. So when we talk about birthing the Christ within, we're talking about getting in touch with the anointed one within us, the divine. And that's what we talk about. We're focusing on the Magi. The Magi, they're only mentioned in Matthew. It's the only place where they're mentioned in the Bible, although they're a part of every nativity scene ever. Purists will get upset with nativity scenes because they'll be like, the shepherds and the Magi were not there at the same time, right? One came and then went away, and then the others came, but get over yourself. We create the myth how we need it to be, right? They're only mentioned in Matthew. We sometimes refer to them as the three kings or the three wise men. The Western church started referring to them as kings, even though there's no textual evidence that says that they were, because of what it said in Isaiah, that kings would bow down to him, right? That was the prophecy. So in order to we shaped the story to fit the prophecy, right? And so we also started calling them wise men in some translations and in some churches so that we could remove the connotation with magic or sorcery, which in other parts of the scripture is referred to as heretical, right? But this is where we get the word magic, from the Magi. Some translations actually refer to them as astrologers, which is most specifically what they were. So who were the Magi? They were a particular religious caste in the religion of Zoroastrianism. Now, some of you might go, any religion that starts with a Z had to happen in the 1960s. That's when it started. It just had to be. There's some guy living on a compound in Idaho somewhere called Zoro. No, this is an ancient world religion. One of the most ancient. As a matter of fact, the only world religion that is still in existence that would predate it is Hinduism. Zoroastrianism is still in existence. It doesn't have a huge following, but it does have some. I think about 100 to 200,000 adherents still exist of Zoroastrianism. And it's more older than Judaism, certainly older than Christianity, of course. And these priests were called magi. And they paid attention to the stars, and they were especially known for their skills in astrology, right? It was the religion of ancient Persia. Now, I know, Nikki's over here, her eyes are glazing over because I'm talking about geography, right? She's like, just get to the other stuff, honey. But let me just tell you this. So ancient Persia was this huge ancient kingdom. It was like the Roman Empire before the Roman Empire. Like, it was massive. And ancient Persia, centered around what we now know as Iran, also included, it stretched out for quite a distance, and it included Palestine, the area where Jesus was born and raised and lived his entire life, right? And so this was about 300 years before Jesus was born. But if you have an empire, right, we still, you can go dig in your backyard and still find arrowheads, right? If a culture has been there, it leaves remnants of itself. I have no doubt that Jesus knew about Zoroastrianism, that it was evident and around in the culture, right? It had gone by the time that empire had shrunk. And in fact, it had been replaced by something called the Parthian Empire, and that was what was to the east, right? They are said to have come from the east. Well, what is east? What is east of Palestine? The Parthian Empire, centered in Iran. It stretched from Turkey to modern Pakistan, which was at that part of India, right? We don't really know how many magi there were, but we just say there were 3 because those are the number of gifts that were referenced. It's only the gifts that are specifically referenced in the book of Matthew, right? So the Western Christian church has venerated them as saints and named them. Because why not? We're making the story up anyway. Let's just name them, right? You might have heard these names. They've made them saints. Melchior, a Persian scholar, that had been from what we could know as modern day Iran. Casper or Jasper, a king of India, right? And Balthazar, who's sometimes known as a Babylonian scholar, but he's also sometimes said to come from Ethiopia or Arabia, right? So from all over. They have different names in different countries and different types of Christianity because we're making up the story to fit what we need. Chinese Christians will tell you that one of them came from China, right? Because that's what we need to know. It's okay. It's fine, really. But we're interested in those gifts. That's what we're going to focus on. The names weren't mentioned in the scriptures. The countries of origins weren't mentioned in the scriptures. We're still making up those stories as we go along. But the gifts were mentioned. And I believe they were mentioned for specific reasons. And whether they were or whether they weren't, the symbolism is still powerful for us today. So we're going to talk about them in order for the next 3 weeks. The first one is gold. Gold is the earliest metal used by humans. It is almost as old as what we might call modern human existence. The oldest gold artifacts that have been found in the world, something that we know it's been manipulated by humans, it was either coins or jewelry or something like that. The oldest gold artifacts date back to 5,000 years BCE, right? We've been using gold. If you have any gold on you right now, you are in the long, long, long line of human culture, right? The word gold comes from the Germanic languages, meaning to shine or to gleam. But let me take you back to, I promise I'm going to get out of the history lesson here in just 1 second. Take you back to 8th grade chemistry, 10th grade chemistry. What's the symbol for gold? Who can remember that? Huh? AU, right? AU is the symbol for gold on the chemical chart, whatever that thing is. What is it? Thank you, periodic table. Thank you very much. I was not in the sciences. All right. So the symbol is AU because it comes from the Latin aurum, which is the Latin word for gold, which is related to the Latin word aurora, meaning dawn. And because of this language relationship, there's a claim frequently made that aurum, or gold, means shining dawn. Isn't that nice? a new beginning, a shining dawn. It's the most malleable of all the metals, which is going to mean something to us in a moment. It can be thinned to the width of a single atom and then still stretched further without breaking. It's been used as money. It's been used to indicate royalty. It's been used to make crowns. There have been important buildings in history that have been covered in gold or made of gold. There were golden calves. There were religious iconography. Wedding rings are often made of gold. It's been used in medicines. It's been used, flakes of it, in gourmet food. I mean, jewelry, almost anything you can think of. We've used gold in a lot of different applications. You might even think that it's too important to be first. Like, wouldn't it be better? Shouldn't you end on a big bang? We should talk, maybe let's go with myrrh first. We don't know what we're going to talk about with myrrh. We do, actually. It's going to be awesome. But gold, wouldn't it be most important? And that just indicates what good little capitalists we all are, right? Because we hear that and we see value. That is value, right? But maybe not the most important. This symbolizes two things in regards to Jesus, right? This symbolizes two things in regards to Jesus. It symbolizes both the royalty, right? King of the Jews. He's coming as the new king of the Jewish people. And it also symbolizes the divinity, this divine inheritance. Of the three gifts we're going to talk about, this one most symbolizes the divine nature and the human nature, the mixture of the two of those. Giving birth to the Christ within means that we must first honor that same thing in us. Honor the royalty that we are, the incredible human that we are, the king and queen of our own life, and the divine, the sacred presence. So, yes, queen. Right? Yes, queen. So this is if you haven't heard this phrase, y'all need to spend more time on social media. I'm just telling you. You need to watch more television. You need to do something. This is a phrase that comes to us, in my experience, as far as I know. I'm not a complete cultural guru or whatever. But in my experience, it comes to us from two cultural references, right? Two cultural places. It comes to us from gay culture, and it comes to us from black culture, right? Let me just tell all of the white, straight people in here, there's no other culture in America, right? That's pretty much it. It's gay culture and white culture and black culture, right? We just go in and we just like collect different things. We just mug other cultures for cultural items, right? Case in point, the word woke. And then we turn it around and we turn it into something different a lot of times. But this phrase comes to us from these two different cultures. Perhaps they meet most perfectly in the iconic RuPaul, who I'm sure has said this phrase on many occasions on his RuPaul's Drag Race. It's interesting that we have to be taught to remember our divinity, taught to remember our royal nature from two groups that have historically been oppressed. That might be there might be a reason for that, right? Maybe if we haven't suffered from the oppression, we haven't had to go look for our dignity. We haven't had to go intentionally find it. When I was in college, I had a class called African American Literature, and I had a professor who was one of the greatest professors I've ever had the privilege of sitting under, and she taught us that during Reconstruction and the era of Jim Crow, that a lot of African American mothers would specifically name their children Duke, Prince, Queenie, King, right? Yep. So that even if in those times of segregation in the South, even if a young African American man had to lower his eyes to the pavement when he saw a white person, if that white person wanted to call his name, he had to call him King, right? If that white person wanted to call his name, he had to call him Duke, because that's what he's going to be named, and you're going to give him dignity if I have to force you to do it. Part of the reclaiming of dignity, I remember even in the 90s when I was a student at Tennessee State University, and I had sat in lots of conversations with other students and faculty members, where part of the reclaiming of dignity for African Americans was to remember the ancestry, to remember the kings and queens from which they descended, the princes and the princesses, right? And so there's a reclaiming of dignity. It's a little bit different in gay culture, of course, because of the connection to drag, but a similar dynamic exists, and that is of reminding ourselves of our worth and our value even when others don't, right? It's very common to hear people, perhaps you've done it yourself at times, somebody in your sisterhood does something grand, you're like, yes, queen, way to go. I see the amazingness in you right now, and I'm pointing it out. And you should do that regularly to yourself. Now know that we are talking about the human person right here. We talk a lot about the spiritual essence, and we will continue to do so, but right now I'm talking about your physical being, your mind, your intellect, the person you are, the manifestation that you walk around as all the time. And you need to recognize the royalty of that. You need to crown yourself every day because you are amazing. I'm just talking about the person you are. You are amazing. Your human life is a miracle. A bajillion little cells went looking for an egg, and the one that was named you found it. And it implanted in just the right place, and it started doubling and multiplying and replicating and doing all these things, and certain little cells said, I want to be a fingernail. Another certain little cells said, I want to be an eyeball. And then you were born. You were made. It's a miracle. You have skills and talents and abilities. You have a heart of gold. You're kind and you're thoughtful. You are funny. You're hilarious. You have excellent problem-solving skills. You are a joy to be around. A true joy to be around. You have excellent taste. And when you mess up, it's profound. like you mess up so well. You do it so great. Yes, I do. We don't want to forget the human we are. We often focus on humanness as a negative because that, of course, is where we suffer. It's where we get confused. It's where we struggle. But this is also where we are amazing. And we want to be careful that we don't engage in spiritual bypassing. You've heard of spiritual bypassing, haven't you? A spiritual bypass or spiritual bypassing is a tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid facing unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. That's a quote. It actually was cut off, but it's a quote from John Wellwood, a clinical psychologist and author who did a lot of work in this area. Clinical bypassing is when we tend to poo-poo and belittle the real human experience we're having and just try to pray it away. Right? We do that a lot in spiritual communities because sometimes people come to us with a problem. We don't know what to say. We don't know what to say. Right? And so maybe we offer some spiritual aphorism. This is what it looks like, the difference between spiritual health and spiritual bypassing. Spiritual health will say, I feel anxious and afraid, but I can be gentle with myself right now. I can recognize that. I can be gentle with myself. Spiritual bypassing might say, fear is the opposite of faith. You must be doing something wrong. Step out of fear, step into love. If you're afraid, if you're anxious, you need to be centered. You need to be balanced. Something is wrong with you. No, you're just human right then. Spiritual health says, I feel sad, and I recognize that. I'm going through a sad season. I've experienced a sad thing. Sometimes spiritual bypassing is just this, choose joy. And they say it like with their fists clenched like this. You need to choose joy. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. I choose joy on a daily basis. It's an important thing to remember, to choose happiness and choose joy. But when I'm throwing it at you as an answer to your sadness, I'm trying to spiritually bypass. Your sadness is making me uncomfortable. I don't know what else to do. Choose joy. Okay, bye. Right? Spiritual health. I feel anger about the way someone treated me, and I'm going to recognize it. I'm going to understand that this is my process. Spiritual bypassing could be, just ask God to take your anger away. I asked God to take my anger away one time, and God said, why? I gave it to you. This is your mirror right now. Are you just going to look at me with it? Or are you going to look at yourself and say, what do I need to do with this? What's the process I need to undergo? Spiritual health, I'm struggling today. God, help me remember to be kind to myself. Where spiritual bypassing might say, if I just prayed harder or meditated more, I wouldn't struggle so much. I'd get centered. I'd be enlightened. I'd walk around in bliss. All the time, I must be doing something wrong. Right? And we don't want to do that. We want to recognize and honor the human that we are. If the wise men only wanted to honor the divine essence, they could have saved themselves the trip. Because divine essence doesn't need the physical location, the closeness, the nearness. But they came to honor this baby, this newborn human being. And might I suggest that the first gift we bring in order to birth the Christ within us is the recognition of your value as a human being. Crown yourself. You are the monarch of your own life. That's St. Edward's crown. It's only used for one purpose, to coronate, to crown a new English monarch. It weighs 5 pounds. You have to practice wearing it, right? Remember who you are, Queen. Remember that this does not make you special, by the way. It's honoring your inherent worth, your birthright, so that you can more clearly see everyone else's inherent worth and birthright, right? It's that same idea that you can't love anyone else until you love yourself. I recognize my own birthright as an amazing human being, as the monarch of my life, and I can see that you are the same. But the gold wasn't just honoring Yeshua as the King of the Jews, it also symbolized the divinity. Now, this divinity in each person can be a sticking point for fundamentalism, because it's about the time we start saying, you know, the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you, that the Baptists start going, that's a cult, right? They get all upset over there. They say they're God. And let me just tell you something. This is dangerous territory. Nikki and I watch lots of documentaries on cults because it's just our thing, right? We're trying to figure out how to start one, but not really. So we watch a lot of and I'll tell you where I think where it goes wrong so many times is when one person starts seeing this in themselves, nobody else. And then they build all that around them. That's where it goes wrong, right? But here's the thing. Isn't it the most sacrilegious thing to not recognize our own divinity? Because if I say, I'm not God, I'm just human, immediately I've just taken away God's omnipresence. I've just diminished God. I've dualized and diminished God. The most sacred thing that I could say to honor God is to recognize God's presence in and through me, right? So I'm going to give you 4 quick thoughts about your divine essence. Number 1, your essence is divine. That's the first one. Just like a bucket of ocean water contains all elements of the ocean, so do you. You have all the elements of your source. You wear an outfit of humanness, but your unclothed self, the part you can't take off, is pure presence. Pure, sacred presence. Deepak Chopra says, inside each person is a divine being that yearns to come into full expression. That's that pull we feel. It's not something outside pulling us toward it. We start to realize, oh, it's something deep inside pulling us to see it, to just recognize it. Inside each person is the Christ, waiting to be born, the anointed one, waiting to be recognized, acknowledged, noticed. Just notice this essence. That's the start. Just notice it. That's all you really have to do, right? Just notice the divine essence. Number 2, your divine essence needs no outside assistance to interpret what is sacred or provide spiritual authority. You are your own first best guru. Guru means dispeller of ignorance or darkness. So that inherently means if it's a dispeller of the darkness, it's the one who brings light. And many have brought light into my life. They've taught me things. They've dispelled ignorance in me. But what the greatest gurus do is to simply show you where to find your own light switch. Right? They're not here to bring you light. You are light. They're not here to bring you love. You are love. They're not here to teach you how to be joyful. You are joy. And all any great spiritual teacher should do is just say, let's just remove the layers, one after the other, until you see that essence of light that you are. The great gurus help you recognize that divine essence and teach you how to be your own light. Right? This concept has been both sacred and profane in practice, going back to those cult leaders. The relationship between a guru and, as we would use the language in India, a devotee, right? Someone who follows, a teacher and a student, right? Jesus and the disciples, right? That relationship is inherently sacred, but it becomes profane anytime either side confuses the teacher and the light. The teacher is not the light. The teacher has the light every bit as much as you do. The teacher may have recognized her own light, his own light, and therefore perhaps they appear to shine brighter. Their light is no bigger than yours. They have nothing you do not already have, right? Then that results in confusion. It can result in those cults, right? A guru can seem like the very embodiment of sacredness, and they are, but so are you. The best guru is consistently turning you away from themselves and toward your own divine essence, because you don't need any outside assistance. I might say something, or Ryan might say something, or someone else in the hallway might say something to you that makes you go, huh, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. Let me go sit with that for a little while. But ultimately, it's going to come down to, how did that land in me? How does that feel in me? And what can I add to that to make it either something I'm going to hold to or something that I will dismiss? Third thing I want to tell you about your divine essence. Your ability to live in joy, be unattached, release all judgment, and live completely free is the gift of your divine essence. It's the gold. Right? This could have been a sentence with an endless list. Your ability to be at peace, your ability to live as love, your ability to be centered and calm, and essentially all good things. All of these things arise from this divine essence. That's all that can live there. That's why we go into the silence. When I'm upset, confused, angry, sad, whatever, I can always go into the silence and for a moment set those outside the door. Let's remember who I am. I may still go back out into the physical, into the human, and feel that sadness, but I've remembered who I am. And joy and peace and unattachment and lack of judgment and freedom all live in the environment of that space. If I dive into a pool, I will be wet. If I dive into divine essence, I will be peace. If I dive in divine essence, I will be joy. I will be love. I will be free. We struggle because we try to achieve these. We try to achieve love, joy, peace, freedom in our human self. That's a struggle. I've got to make my human happy. I've got to stop my brain. I've got to figure out how to be smarter than my brain and stop it from just going like this all the time, right? You might say, well, isn't this a kind of spiritual bypass? For us to bypass what's going on in the human and go into the silence? No, and I'll tell you why. In divine essence, there is nothing that needs to be bypassed. In humanness, there is nothing that can be bypassed. We live through it all. We can't avoid it. We can't avoid loss. We can't avoid struggle. We can't avoid fear. We can't avoid sadness. Right? Nothing can be bypassed. In divine essence, nothing needs to be bypassed. We have to be real and honest and vulnerable and human, but we are also always divine. Giving birth to the Christ within is to honor this divine essence. It is to anoint the human into an understanding of their true essence. It's to anoint the person into a clear relationship with their divine sacred self. Number 4. The dance of the human experience and the divine essence, like the malleability of gold, does not diminish the quality of either. We often talk about the divine and the human as kind of like these two separate beings, sometimes even two warring factions. We have to defeat the ego, right? We have to kill the human. We have to whatever, right? We have to, they have to live in concert with one another. We see them sometimes as always being at odds with each other. And the imperfection inherent in the human kind of always keeps our sacred self slightly tarnished. Oh, I must not be sacred and divine and as holy as I thought I was, because look at that big old mistake I just made. Look at that big old judgment I just passed. Look at that big old, maybe I just told something that wasn't exactly true. Maybe I didn't treat someone with as much loving kindness as I could. I must have ruined my spiritual understanding of how holy I am. That must have been tarnished. I must have diluted it somehow. It can't be diluted. It can't be lessened. We are just always, instead of two separate things, the human and the divine are like this, right? Like this. Sometimes there's a push and a pull. In the humanness, we feel the push and the pull. There's no push and pull in the divine. The push and the divine just says, I'll dance with you. I'm going to go wherever you take me, right? Wherever you take me. We are here to be fully both. No matter how aware you might be of your divine essence, right? You might be meditating at such a high vibration that you levitate right off the ground. But guess what? You, the body, are still levitating off the ground. It hasn't gone away. It's still there. It's still a part of what you're doing. The human is still there. And until the day we draw our final breath and transcend this mortal plane, the human will still be there. Instead of a war or a conflict by these two separate sides, it's a dance between two lovers. You know what? Your sacred self loves your human being. Right? It adores you. Oh, come, let us adore him. Right? This newborn child. It will enhance the quality of the human experience. You are the star of Bethlehem. In the words of Joni Mitchell, we are stardust, we are golden, right? And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Back to the garden of our divine. The star is such a beautiful symbol of the combination of the human and the divine. It provides the light of the heavens, and yet it's made with the same carbon and the same elements that make up you. Right? It is that connection. And as we birth the Christ child in us throughout this month, we start from this awareness, this dual awareness. My human being has value and worth. I am crowned the monarch of my life. I encourage you to look in the mirror every day this week and say it. Say, yes, queen. Right? When you're getting ready for work, yes, king. You're looking good. Right? Tiaras, we have extra tiaras. Whichever one you choose, do both of them. Honor the divine feminine and the divine masculine in you. Go ahead and do both of them. I am flexible and malleable and valuable just like gold. And secondly, my sacred being, my divine essence is ever present. It is the essence in which I live and move and have my being. I am as connected to source as wet is to water. I am as connected to source as the fragrance is to the rose. And that's what we mean by essence. This is the first honoring, the gift of gold, to recognize the life, the human life, and the divine life that exists in you as you. Honor yourself, anoint yourself, crown yourself, love yourself. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Deb. Well, I love the way that New Thought looks at Christmas, saying that the Christ is born, reborn. But I take it one step farther in my life, and I say that Christ is born in me every single day. Every morning that I wake up, Christ is born anew in me, the Christ presence, because the Christ presence is in every cell of my body and every fiber of my being, right? So if that's the case, every day we are born anew in the presence of the Christ. So that's definitely something for us to be grateful for. I will share something. I was thinking just a second ago about something personal that I will share, and that's the fact that I am grateful for the presence, that little small voice that we have of the divine that leads us and guides us whenever we listen for it. That presence is always there, and I'm very grateful for that today because I have been struggling personally with my spiritual practice. And I've had the same spiritual practice for quite a while, we'll say a few years, and it works. It works for me every day. This is what I do, and I'm there. But lately it has not been working, and I have felt so lost. And finally, a few days ago, I just sat down in my recliner, and I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. If this is meant to happen, it's going to happen or whatever. And I just went somewhere else. And I was given the exact 3 things that I need to do to rekindle that practice in my life. And it's mine. I'm not going to give it to you because it really doesn't matter. It probably wouldn't work for you anyway, right? But I'm so happy that we have that access to that presence and that voice at any time that we need. It may be hard to hear. I'm telling you, it may be hard for you to hear. But if you keep listening for it, you will finally hear it. I promise you. It may take a month. It may take a year. Who knows? But you're going to find it. I'll spread that a little bit of encouragement for you today. So that's what I'm grateful for, that presence of the divine within me today. Anybody have anything else? What are you grateful for this week? And it doesn't have to be deep spiritual stuff either. Happy for new friendships. What else? New friendships are great. Pets. We love our pets.
Very grateful for NyQuil this week.
We love NyQuil. Not so much the pharmaceutical industry, but yes, NyQuil's good.
Prayers
Answered prayers. I give you amen for that. Anybody, anything else? Well, we are a grateful bunch of people, and we show that every time that we walk through the door because we're grateful for this spiritual community. All right, well, let's take a look and see what we've got for our contributions versus expenses for the week that was, and use that to guide your contributions, donations today. The blue vase is in the back. You can also volunteer, which we're going to appreciate you next week, and bank draft or PayPal. Any way you want to contribute is good with us, and we love you and appreciate you for that. All right, well, let's say our affirmation together for prosperity. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies
all that I choose to give and all that I hope to receive.
We receive it in a world of infinite abundance. Sing it with me. I leave of infinite abundance. I give freely and fearlessly to life. I live in the midst of infinite abundance, and life gives back to me. I live in the midst of infinite abundance. I give freely and fearlessly to life. I live in the midst of infinite abundance, and life gives back to me. And life gives back to me. Everybody look around and see all the abundance in the room. Thank you, God, for that abundance. All right, well, don't forget to check the What's Happening newsletter, and I want to remind everybody to bring a piece of your Christmas to our Christmas here. There's places for ornaments on the tree, and you can bring something for the Christmas altar next week. Let's all stand as we are able, and let's say the prayer for protection as we prepare to head out for another week. The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us.
The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are,
God is, and all is
let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Thank you so much, everyone. Please stay for soup and chili and our